Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So we're reading again from the Srimad Bhagavatam. We're on a roll this week after falling behind so many weeks. So we're trying to catch up and be steady. 2026. You can see if I lean forward, the sun is shining in through the window. So it'll be like, whoa!
All right. Canto 4, chapter 28, text 51.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Text 51. My dear king, one Brahmana, who was an old friend of King Paranjan, came to that place and began to pacify the queen with sweet words. Purport. The appearance of an old friend in the form of a Brahmana is very significant. In this Paramatma feature, Krishna is the old friend of everyone. According to Vedic injunction, Krishna is sitting with the living entity side by side. According to the Shruti mantra, Dwa Supana Sayuja Sakaya, the Lord is sitting within the heart of every living entity as Surit, the best friend. The Lord is always eager to have the living entity come home back to Godhead. Sitting with the living entity as witness, the Lord gives him all chances to enjoy himself materially. But whenever there is an opportunity, the Lord gives good counsel and advises the living entity to abandon trying to become happy through material adjustment and instead turn his face toward the Supreme Personality of Godhead and surrender unto him. That was a big sentence, wasn't it? Jesus. When one becomes serious to follow the mission of the spiritual master, his resolution is tantamount to seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As explained before, this means meeting the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the instruction of the spiritual master. This is technically called Vani Seva. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur states in his Bhagavad Gita commentary on the verse Vya Vaya Vaya Satmika.
Vya Satmika. How many times have we had to go through this? Break it down, girl. Vya Va. No, try it. Vya Va Sa Ya At Mika. Vya Va Sa Yatmika.
Vyavasayatmika.
Vyavasayatmika.
Vyasasayatmika.
Oh, dear Lord. Okay, we try.
Buddhi Ekaha Kurunandana. If you want to read that, just go to Bhagavad Gita chapter 2, text 41. That one should serve that. Oh Lord, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur states that one should serve the words of the spiritual master. The disciple must stick to whatever the spiritual master orders. Simply by following on that line, one sees the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Nice, very powerful, very instructive. Without opening anything controversial, I'm not going to open anything controversial.
Why change the habit of a lifetime?
No, I'm not, because this particular topic is very cool. But anyway, someone was just asking me yesterday about who should be guru and who not, type of thing. We'll leave it at that. And I ain't got a problem with anyone being guru. But yeah, my point was, although I think I got cut off, but anyway, as long as they are, someone you can follow. And like it says here, if the disciple sticks to whatever the spiritual master orders, one can see the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So it's like a real, it's not something cheap. I want to be guru, I should be guru, yada, yada, yada. You have to really take that instruction and to heart, because so many people's devotional creepers are dependent on you doing that. It's such a heavy Service. It's not about name, fame, adoration, or whatever, you know. And you can preach without that, taking on that duty. For me, it's like, whatever time I've been around, yeah, so many hearts are broken, so many people's faiths are crushed. And then you turn, because everyone, like Prabhupada says, everyone needs a master, as it were, whether people accept it or not. So then they turn to shelter that kind of looks like what has been propagated, but it isn't. And then you see they end up in a path that's kind of pure and not whatever. The point is that, yeah, what I get from this is that the spiritual master can deliver the Supreme Personality of Godhead to you. So what a heavy, intense service that is to be a guru.
Yeah.
You know?
Very nice. Interesting perspective. And yeah, it's not that in one sense anyone can just become guru.
Right.
And Prabhupada mentions in Nectar of Instruction that your spiritual master should be an Uttama Adhikari. It means that he's positioned on the highest platform of devotional service. And he says it's okay to have a spiritual master who's on the Madhyama platform or even a Kanishta platform, but you have to understand you will not be able to progress beyond the point that they have realization. So that's really important. And yeah, just taking up this service is something that should be done with deep awareness and consciousness of exactly what you just said, that you're going to be holding the hearts and devotional creepers of devotees in your hands, and so delicate, easy to crush. Next one. So next paragraph. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Paramatma, appeared before the Queen as a Brahmana. But why didn't he appear in his original form as Sri Krishna? Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur remarks that unless one is very highly elevated in loving the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one cannot see him as he is. Nonetheless, if one sticks to the principles enunciated by the spiritual master, somehow or other he is in association with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Since the Lord is in the heart, he can advise a sincere disciple from within. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 10.10. Tesham sarata yuktanam bhajatam paripurvikam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mamupayanti te. To those who are constantly devoted to worship me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. So interesting. Posing of an important point and a question, and the point is that this Brahmana who's appeared before appeared before the Queen. Now the Queen is Paranjan. She was Paranjan in the previous life, and this Brahman is an old friend of King Paranjan's. So what's being stated here is that actually the Brahman is kind of an expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But one may say, well, why didn't Krishna just appear directly? And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments that basically you got to be really advanced. Now, for Krishna to appear directly, specifically before you. Instead, he will send his representative or, come in other forms. Which is interesting because in the previous purport, there was a word used that I had to look up, which it said that when one becomes serious to follow the mission of the spiritual master, his resolution is tantamount to seeing the personality of Godhead. So the resolution to follow the instructions of the spiritual master is tantamount to seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that word tantamount means? Exactly, that's what I thought. What does that mean? I've heard it so many times. Tantamount, actually it means, It means non-different from, or basically the same as. It's equivalent in seriousness to, or virtually the same as. So being serious to follow the instructions of the spiritual master is basically the same as seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead directly, which is pretty powerful. And that's also what Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur was saying, that if one sticks to the principles enunciated by the spiritual master, somehow or other, he is in the association of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So it's such an interesting dynamic. In one place, Srila Prabhupada says that Guru Tattva is one of the most difficult tattvas to understand. So, but the spiritual master, who is himself serious to following the orders of his spiritual master, and if you are sincere in following the orders of your spiritual master, it is non-different from being in the association of the Supreme Lord, and or to having darshan or seeing the Supreme Lord personally.
In conclusion, if a disciple is very serious to execute the mission of the spiritual master, he immediately associates with the Supreme Personality of Godhead by Vani or Vapu. This is the only secret of success in seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Instead of being eager to see the Lord in some bush of Vrindavan while at the same time engaging in sense gratification, if one instead sticks to the principle of following the words of the spiritual master, he will see the Supreme Lord without difficulty. Srila Bilvamangal Thakur has therefore said, if I am engaged... No, because in the interest of time, because it's a big verse. If I am engaged in devotional service unto you, my dear Lord, then very easily can I perceive your presence everywhere. And as far as liberation is concerned, I think that liberation stands at my door with folded hands, waiting to serve me. And all material conveniences of dharma, religiosity, artha, economic development, and karma, sense gratification, stand with her. That's from Krishna Karna Rita 107. If one is very highly advanced in devotional service, he will have no difficulty in seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If one engages in the service of the spiritual master, he not only sees the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but attains liberation. As far as material conveniences are concerned, they automatically come just as the maid servants of a queen follow the queen wherever she goes. Liberation is no problem for the pure devotee, and all material conveniences are simply awaiting him at all stages of life.
Wow.
Well, there you go.
Well, there you go, what? There you go, there you have it. Self-explanatory.
If you're listening, innit? Anyway, it starts off very powerfully that if a disciple is very serious to execute the mission of the spiritual master, he immediately associates with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is the only secret. If one instead sticks to the principle of following, so in other words, you go, I'm going on pilgrimage, I'm going to go and do this, and I'll go, oh good, I mean, better than going to, I guess, Ibiza or whatever. But, although that's also good, I'm not saying it's bad, but anyway. If one instead sticks to the principle of following the words of the spiritual master, he will see the Supreme Lord without difficulty. I mean, I found that just the opening of this paragraph, very powerful, and it's almost like a reminder and reconfirming the position of the spiritual master in one's life and who he is. Because like Prabhupada just uses examples that he's like the postman. It's just, but what is the postman doing? He's delivering, letters, whatever. So what is the spiritual master delivering? He just happens to be delivering God, It's like, Yeah, well, postman delivers the bills or whatever, but so what do you do? Yes, deliver. Well, this is the only thing I deliver. I'm not going to deliver the bills or
I
anything
deliver
else.
God.
Yeah, so it's
like
quite yeah, and it goes without saying that Srila Prabhupada obviously did that, and is doing that. You know, that in itself shows his potency as the spiritual master and Shiksha Guru, that after all these years and for sure continuing the books alone, you know, you find yourself in a desert island and it's like, what's that? Oh, some book that's been washed up, and read it and become self-realized, really, let's be honest, just for reading his books and his purports. So yeah, that's what stood out for me, the exalted position of the spiritual master.
Yeah, amazing. Agreed. And to that end, just with that paragraph, the one thing that was there is just this principle of liberation and opulences and so many things. And it brought to mind that, yeah, how to become purely dedicated to the instructions of the spiritual master means you have to become selfless. And that means you basically have to let go of some attachments of things that you're expecting to get or you want to get. And that ain't easy. Yeah. Okay, so we'll finish there. And it was glorious to get a reading in and have a chance to discuss the Srimad Bhagavatam. Encouragement to everyone, please, please, please read the Bhagavatam. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.